The Great Unwinding has begun. That's what I'm calling this, the Great Unwinding. This is the beginning of the unwinding of the Trump rally, which started back in November after the election. We have had an historic rally based on expectations of a Trump fiscal stimulus economic boom, none of which, at least speaking of his policy proposals, have happened yet. But in the meantime, many other things have happened that are not so wonderful. For example, a very precipitous slowdown in the economy's growth rate. We went from 3.5% growth rate in the third quarter of last year to 1.9% in the fourth quarter of last year to 0.8 or 0.9% in the first quarter of this year, if we're lucky. All right. We have seen a dramatic, almost scary contraction in bank credit growth. I've been putting this, and I've been talking about this on these videos, but I've been putting the charts in my MMT Trader Report every week. If nothing else, you should just get the 30-day free trial to see this week's charts, which are they're shocking. I can't even think of a stronger adjective. They're shocking. The plunge is like falling off a cliff in bank credit growth. We have seen fiscal flows flat year over year. At the same time last year, fiscal flows were growing about 2% year over year. We were already up over 40 billion versus the prior year. This year, nothing, flat. Okay, so we're not getting that fiscal stimulus that we need. And all this rally has been built on rhetoric. And now people are starting to see, I think people are starting to realize that if the tax cuts happen, and by the way, I broke it all down. I broke down the big tax cut he's talking about is the big tax cut is the corporate tax cut. We already know corporations only paying 12%, 338 billion out of the 2.8 trillion collected by the federal government. That was corporate taxes. That equates to 12%. He's not talking about a payroll tax cut, something that could really have a broad impact on the economy. The infrastructure spending, how's that going to happen? That's not an Eisenhower, let's build the interstate highway system deficit spending plan. That was public-private partnerships, incentivizing, institutional investors and hedge funds with tax credits so that they could build the infrastructure they want and then charge a fee for it. So, of course, the tax incentives are not enough for them. They need to get paid. That's like a tax on all of us. So the plan, I've been all over his plan. I mean, not to mention the fact that the budget just proposed last week has massive historic cuts to domestic spending programs. Yeah, there's the military increase, but all of that, if not more, and I've been over the numbers, are offset with spending cuts. So you really have a fiscal environment right here that is bad. It is bad. The economy is slowing down to a zero growth. Who knows, by the way, what the policy response is going to be to this? You got guys like Mickey Mulvaney, the budget director. I've been talking about this guy ever since Trump picked him. This guy is a major, big-time fiscal hawk. He believes the debt has to be cut. I mean, these are all like austerity ideas that have destroyed Europe's economy. That even Gary Cohn, this freaking former CFO of Goldman Sachs, he said the debt's too high the other day. I think I did a video about this where he said, we can't grow unless we bring down the debt. I mean, these are absurd, gold standard, ridiculous ideas that have destroyed the economy in Europe. So this is the Great Unwinding. Now, let me throw something else in here. And it's something I've been talking about in the past. Institutional asset managers. They are long this market out the wazoo. They own 700,000 net long S&P futures contracts. That's net. That's longs minus shorts. If you're just looking at their longs, they got almost 1.5 million contracts long. These guys have the worst track record. I said John Bogle, the guy who created Vanguard funds and made himself a billionaire, basically came up with a product that bets against this group. Institutional asset managers who fail year in and year out to beat the market averages. And I've been saying to you, do you want to bet with those guys? Wait till they start dumping those 700,000 net long futures contracts, which equates to 70 billion. And by the way, again, I'll just mention that's net. That's longs minus shorts. They're long. They got around 1.5 million long futures contract. So I think the whole entire Trump rally since November can be reversed. And also what's really important, we got to look at the policy response to this. If the economy starts going negative, if we get negative growth, what are these guys going to say? What's Mickey Mulvaney, budget director, going to say? We got to spend a lot of money, which would be the right thing to say. No, he's saying, hey, the debt's too big. We got to cut. So you go into a vicious spiral. You get what could be maybe a 1/4 negative, maybe a mild recession, turn into a deep, deep recession. The Great Unwinding is upon us, folks. The Great Unwinding. Remember, like everything else, you heard it here first. Bye.